Hey, Sonim here. In this video, I'm going to explain why your meta ads are bleeding money and how to stop them. This is a really key point you need to understand before running any ads on Meta. If you have zero clue on who I am, I'm on a mission to help you stop throwing your money to Zuck and make ads profitable by building strategies and funnels to help you get to multiple 6 and 7 figures. So, why your meta ads is actually bleeding money? If your meta ads are bleeding money, there are basically four systematic leaks causing 90% of your losses. And this is so devastating because every bleeding point compounds to the other. So if you have like multiple leaks, you are not just losing money, you are losing cash exponentially. So let's go through each one because understanding these will save you thousands and thousands of dollars. So let me break down all the four bleeding points and show you how exactly to plug them as well. So the first point would be broken tracking. So the one that's costing you the most without even realizing is your broken tracking systems. You're making bad decisions based on completely false data. So here's what actually happens like behind the scenes. Pixel only tracking now captures only 40 to 65% of actual conversion because of iOS 14 updates and ad blockers. This means if your dashboard shows 1.5x ROAS, you might actually be at 2.8x ROAS. So you're operating completely blind, which means you're killing winning ad set because you can't really see that data. So let's just say you have a winning ad set and you 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 have a KPI set of 3x ROAS for that asset, and it's showing like 1.5x ROAS, but when an actual calculation is actually showing it actually needs to be 2.8 ROAS, you're probably going to kill the ad, right? You probably are going to kill the ad and basically will hurt your performance because that ad was actually performing and could help you get to like higher ROASs in time because eventually which eventually at like you are at like 2.8 ROAS, which is just close to KPI that you can actually scale and just make a fuck ton of money, right? So basically, like if you just take like a metaphor for this, is basically you are trying to reach a point, right? You are driving in your car and you just open your Google Maps and it says that you would reach there in 30 minutes, like if you go like 50 kilometers per hour, but you are going 50 kilometers per hour in your car. Well, technically you are going 50 kilometers per hour, but if your speedometer is broken and it shows 50 kilometer per hour when you're actually going 30 kilometer per hour, the time actually just doesn't make sense. You're not going to reach it in 30 minutes, right? This is just like a hypothetical case where it's just like a hypothetical case, like nothing's there to it. It might cause like averages and something else, but if you if your tracking if you just take the TLDR of this, if your tracking is just broken, you are not gonna make good decisions out of it. Like basically, if you have like a winning ad set, but if the tracker is showing 1.5x ROAS instead of 2.8 ROAS, well, you are gonna turn that ad off because basically it's losing money for you, and it just doesn't make sense to just scale that ad. So basically, the fix for this is actually just straightforward. Just install server-side tracking via conversion APIs or CAPIs. This bypasses ad blockers entirely and achieves 90 to 95% of tracking accuracies. So the second point is no unit economics. Now, the second bleeding point is even more insidious. Scaling without unit economics. You are amplifying losses instead of profits. Let me explain why this is so common. Most founders don't know the true contribution margin per order, so they set an arbitrary target CPAs that usually guarantees loss. So here's the math that proves it. If your contribution margin is $45 per order and your target CPA is $60, right? And you lose, so basically, if you minus the target CPA versus your contribution margin, and well, you find out that you are losing $50 on every single sale, and that's scaling money you just lose faster. Like, if you're just, let me just get this out. Okay, so if you're just selling your product at like, if your contribution margin is 30, and then if your target CPA is like 50, and you get a sale at 50, that means you're just losing $20. Now, if you're gonna scale this, like you're gonna be spending more money, right? So this is actually gonna get 2x, 3x, or even like 4x, 5 times. This is just gonna get higher and higher. It grows exponentially, and your losses will grow exponentially as well because you are not gaining any profit from this. You are basically losing money on this money from this product with your CPA with your KPIs. So basically, the simple fix is just you need to calculate actual unit economics and set your target CPAs below your contribution margin, or you're basically bleeding by design. I will just make a whole different video on this to help you understand like how to calculate unit economics, because without understanding this, you are not going to get profitable at meta ads. So basically, if you just take this metaphor, like this is a building A and this is a building B. If you're gonna pour money on A, like let's say building A is built on like a grass, right? And it's good, it's working fine. But if an building B is built on quicksand, it's sinking, and if you try to build more, it's just gonna go down into the ground because, well, it's a quicksand, right? You're just gonna keep on falling deeply and deeper into the quicksand, and you just eventually collapse at one point. The third thing is the creative fatigue. So third bleeding point is the silent killer. Your creative fatigues. Your ads are dying slowly and you don't even notice. Here's the death spiral that happens. Week 1, your ad gets 2.8 CTR, and week 4, it's down to 0.9 CTR. Your CPMs are rising, your ROAS is tanking, you're bleeding money on exhausted creatives, and most people don't even notice until it's too late. That your creative fatigues is a sign that that ad is getting shown more frequently to your audience, and it's getting annoying to your audience, right? It's just basically it's getting annoying to your audience, like, and that ad maybe, or maybe like even it could be your audience just doesn't resonate to that ad anymore. Even if it is like a winning creative, like especially after the Andromeda update, even if it's like a winning creative, the creative fatigue actually gets more and more. Uh, it gets more. Your creative fatigue just gets more and more intense because if you just keep on running the same ads over and over again, eventually, well, that ad will get fatigued and eventually just it will just kill your KPIs. So the simple fix for this is like to build like a systematic creative testing system. So like where you're testing minimum 2 to 3 new concepts per week to combat ad fatigue before it kills your rest. Because especially after the Andromeda update, your creative fatigue will actually get like intensely high because unless you are just have like a proper system of like winning creatives that you're just ready to swap in like after one winning creative fails and you just have another one swap in, you will actually save yourself a lot of time and a lot of headaches just sitting in as manager why on like maybe even trying to create a new ad or just thinking like isn't this working, why isn't this working for me, where other people are like scaling to multiple 7, 8, 9 figures, 9 figures per month, and where you're just stuck on not being able to replicate a single winning ad. So like for the final thing, this should not be. This should not be this. Give me a sec. This is basically scaling validation. So the final point is scaling before validation. So now the fourth bleeding point is the most expensive mistake you can make, like the scaling before validation. So I see this exact pattern over and over. Like someone gets 3.2 ROAS for 2 days, immediately scales from 500 a day to 5,000 a day, and watches it crash to like 1.4 ROAS within a week. So here's the validation framework that prevents validation getaway. So 7 consecutive days of sustained 3x ROAS before scaling a single dollar, and then incremental increases of 10 to 20% of preventing triggering automatic algorithmic competition. So this is something like we have done in the past as well, because we just randomly see like a campaign do like 3 4 ROAS within just a single day, and we thought that holy shit, this is gonna make us money, and we poured all our money into it. While like after a few days, it just came all crashing down, and I started regretting all my decisions. So that's why we came up with a system of like unless the ad hits like 7 consecutive days of 3x ROAS, we will not scale a single dime because, well, that simply doesn't make sense. If you don't have like consecutive days of like 3x ROAS before like scaling, you're just basically losing money, right? You're basically just gambling all your money away, hoping that it will come back. So here's like the basic, uh, the compounding effect. So now like here's what makes this so dangerous. Like each bleeding point makes the other worse. Like this this one makes this worse, and with this one makes this work. Like every single one of these is like a compound structure. Like so this is basically an exponential graph, right? You are basically on this x-axis, this is an y-axis, and this is an x-axis, right? You start like right here, like small increments, small increments, small increments, and then eventually at one point, like everything compounds and they just go boom, and it just skyrockets into something, into like you just losing your money on meta ads, and eventually, well, you just give up on meta ads in general. So broken tracking means you can scale the wrong things. No unit economics means you don't know what's actually profitable. Creative fatigue goes unnoticed because you are not monitoring the right metrics, and scaling without validation amplifies all of it at once. It's not just an addition, it's a multiplication. If you have like four bleeding points active, you are not losing money for that, losing four times the money. You're losing maybe even 10 times, 20 times, or even 50 times, right? Let's say you're just losing one here, one times here, 1.5, 1.2, 3, and then eventually you're just going to here, you could be losing like 50, 60 times your money. This is just a concept, but you could be doing that, right? So in order to do this, you just gotta move down and just figure out your diagnosis diagnostic hierarchy. Like how do you actually diagnose when you are actually starting to lose money on meta ads? So first thing is you being able to fix tracking, right? Let me just do this. My OCD is cracking up. So the diagnostic hierarchy. So the first thing that you want to do is check your tracking. Check your tracking to check. Let's see if your tracking is actually perfect. Like not perfect, but at least 90 to 95%, or you have like conversion APIs, server-side system tracking installed. Then is the second. Then moving to second is validated unit economics, right? If you're if you're losing $15 on every sale, well, that doesn't make sense for you to scale money and meta ads because you're basically losing $50 in sales every time, and if you just compounds over and over again, right? And then we'll move on to building creative systems. Like your as I said, with the Andromeda update, your creatives are going to get fatigued faster than ever, right? So in order to scale, you gotta have like a good system of creatives. Like you gotta be able to come up with good creatives over and over again, so you can swap out the fatigued ones with the new winning ones. And finally, after that is like just scale incrementally. Like as I said, 7 days of consecutive seven consecutive days of sustained 3S rest before scaling a single dollar, and then incremental increases of only 10 to 20%, preventing triggering automatic competition. So that's it for this video. By the way, if you for the love of God can't seem to crack Paid Ads funnel, there's a link below in the description which will take you to a calendar link where you can book a free strategy session with me. Don't don't worry, it's not a sales call, so you can leave a card at home. It's just a call where we can tell you how we can help you with the paid ad system. I don't really mind if you click it or not, but if you really need the assistance, it's there. If you like the video, there's a button for that as well, so make sure to press it. Comment any video ideas or requests you have, and subscribe if you want more content that keeps you engaged till the end. Have a great day ahead. Thanks so much for sticking around. Cheers.